David received a parrot for his birthday. The parrot was fully grown, with a bad attitude and worse vocabulary, every other word as an expletive. Those that weren't expletives were, to say the least, rude. David tried hard to change the bird's attitude and was constantly saying polite words, playing soft music, anything he could think of to try and set a good example. Nothing worked. He yelled at the bird, and the bird yelled back. He shook the bird, and the bird just got more angry and ruder. Finally, in a moment of desperation, David grabbed the parrot and threw it in the freezer. For a few moments, he heard the bird squawk and kick and scream. Then suddenly, there was quiet, not a sound, for half a minute. David was frightened that he might have hurt the bird and quickly opened the freezer door. The parrot calmly stepped out onto David's extended arm and said, "I believe I may have offended you with my rude language and actions. I will immediately correct my behavior. I really am truly sorry and beg your forgiveness." David was astonished at the bird's change in attitude and was about to ask what had made such a dramatic change when the parrot continued, "By the way, may I ask what the turkey did?" 3 old men were sitting on a park bench when a reporter approached them. "I wonder if you 3 would be willing to do an interview and tell me your secret to a long life?" the reporter asked. The 3 old men agreed, and the reporter asked the first old man his secret to a long life. "I never drank alcohol, I never smoked tobacco, and I have been married to the same woman for 50 years. "That's really remarkable," said the reporter. "And how old are you?" "I'm 93, said the first old man. The second man was asked the same question on his secret to a long life. "I drank on occasion, I smoked, but not often, and I dated some." "And how old are you?" asked the reporter. "I'm 91, said the second man. Finally, the reporter approached the third old man and asked his secret to a long life. "I dated every woman that would go out with me. I drank until I passed out, and I smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day." "Wow," said the reporter. "And how old are you?" The third man replied, "I just turned 29. A man walked into a bar. He sat down and asked the bartender, "If I impress you, can I have a free drink?" The bartender said, "Sure." So the man reached in his pocket and pulled out a tiny piano. He then pulled out a small rat and set it by the piano. It crawled onto the bench and began playing music. The bartender was amazed, so he gave the man a beer. Next, the man said, "If I impress you even more, can I have free drinks for life?" The bartender didn't think it was possible, so he agreed. The man pulled a frog out of his pocket, and it began to sing by the piano. The bartender smiled and told the man that he was impressed. A man in a suit with a cane walked into the bar, saw the small animals, and offered to buy them for $2 million. The owner said no, but he offered to sell the frog for $500,000. The rich man agreed, took the frog, and left. The bartender couldn't believe the owner just did that and said, "Why did you just sell the frog? There is no singer now." The owner laughed and said, "Don't worry, the rat is a ventriloquist." Late one night, a man is speeding down an empty road. A cop sees him go flying past, so he chases him and pulls him over. The cop goes up to the car, and when the man rolls down the window, he asks, "Are you aware of how fast you were going, sir?" The man replies, "Yes, I am. I'm trying to escape a robbery I got involved in." The cop looks at him disbelievingly and asks him, "Were you the one being robbed, sir?" The man casually replies, "Oh no, I was the one who committed the robbery. I was escaping." The cop is shocked and surprised that the man has admitted this so freely. He says, "So you're telling me you were speeding and committed a robbery?" "Oh yes," replies the man calmly. "I have all the loot in the back." The cop is now starting to get angry and says, "Sir, I'm afraid you have to come with me. as he reaches into the window to take the car keys out of the ignition. The man shouts, "Don't do that. I'm afraid that you'll find the gun in my glove compartment." At this, the cop pulls his hand out of the window and says, "Wait here," as he returns to his car and calls for backup. Soon, there are cars, cops, and helicopters everywhere. The man is quickly dragged out of his car, handcuffed, and taken towards a cop car. However, just before he is put in the car and taken away, a cop walks up to him and says, "Sir, this officer tells us that you had committed a robbery, had stolen loot in the trunk of your car, and had a loaded gun in your glove compartment. However, we didn't find any of these things in your car." The man replies, "Yeah, I bet that liar said I was speeding too." A man is having marital problems, so he decides to see a therapist. The man says, "I don't know what to do. Every day my wife seems to lose her temper with me for no reason." The therapist thinks for a moment, then says, "I think I have an answer for your problem. When it seems that your wife is getting angry, just take a glass of water and start swishing it in your mouth. Just swish and swish, but don't swallow it until she either leaves the room or calms down." 2 weeks later, the man goes back to the therapist, looking fresh and reborn. The man says, "You know, that was a brilliant idea. Every time my wife started berating me, I swished with water. I swished and swished, and after a few minutes, she calmed right down. How does a glass of water do that?" The therapist says, "The water itself does nothing. It's keeping your mouth shut that does the trick." The kindergarten class had a homework assignment to write about something exciting that happened to them. When the time came for the little kids to give their reports, the teacher was calling on them one at a time. She was reluctant to call upon little Johnny, knowing that he sometimes could be a bit crude, but eventually his turn came. Little Johnny walked up to the front of the class and with a piece of chalk made a small white dot on the blackboard, then sat back down. The teacher couldn't figure out what Johnny had in mind for his report, so she asked him just what that was. "It's a period," reported Johnny. "Well, I can see that," she said. "But what is so exciting about a period?" "Damned if I know," said Johnny. "But this morning, my sister said she missed one. Then Daddy had a heart attack. Mummy fainted, and the man next door shot himself." My friends, if you want to watch other funny jokes, subscribe to the channel.